This is Nick DeTiro, the professor for this course. This is a quick little video, a few minutes long, that's going to describe how to use Lakeland's NDG Netlab server. If many of you probably know this or remember this from previous courses, we relied heavily on a publisher-based lab platform, Cengage MindTap. Outstanding platform. It did the job. They had some good labs in there, and like anything else, there was some foibles in there, but we were very satisfied with it. But a few years ago, we in the ITCS department figured we wanted to control the labs a little more, and this is the first step. So we're migrating away from the Cengage MindTap labs, and we are housing a virtual lab environment at Lakeland. And that is the NDG server. You might hear me call it the Netlab server. But anyways, it is basically the same thing. Once you have taken the attendance and zero tolerance policy and answered all the questions appropriately, it opens up all the course content. Now, let's do the lab. First thing you see is this right here. This is a direct link to the NDG server. I will demonstrate this. You will get a user account, and when you click on this, you're going to have to use the user account, but I will be sending that user account very shortly. Anyways, this is a direct link to the NDG server. But before you go to the direct link, you want to go to whatever week you're working in and go through materials. And when it's come time to do the labs, you find the lab you want to do. And I will let you know, these labs are really cool. They are not simulators. They are virtual machines. They're somewhat robust. They do some really interesting things. I encourage you to play with them. You're not going to break anything. So if you completed one lab and you really enjoyed it, you can go back and test some other things with it. You are not going to break any of these virtual environments. But anyways, when you open up the particular lab, I just opened up NDG Lab, the folder for NDG Lab 10, Basic Command Line Tools. You'll notice there's two things here. The first thing you will notice is a Word document. You need to download that. So by clicking on it, it'll open up on our screen, and it will download that Word document. Once it is downloaded, and I will open it up, it has all the instructions associated with this lab. Now, I strongly encourage you to keep the document open while you're doing the labs, and you'll see why in a bit. I wouldn't print them out, because to perform the labs, you are going to do screen captures, right? So you have to have that document open so you can do screen captures. So anyways, I'll click on Word. It just so happened to open up on my other screen. If you have the luxury of another screen, I strongly encourage that, but you can do it with with just one screen, but I like to do it. And here's the lab. And basically, you would go through, you'd start and read, and here's the topology. This is the virtual topology that you will be playing with, and it will tell you what to do. It will give you all the passwords associated with the different machines, and it's going to start you on your task. And you're basically going to walk through the lab, and then at a certain point, let's see if I can find it, as you're doing the lab, you're going to see something like this. Where you are going to perform a command, and that says stop. Create a screen capture, and then paste it here. And if I was to do that, different machines do it different way. My machine, I believe it's a alt print screen. So I did a screen capture, and I basically go over here, and then I paste that screen capture into the document, right? And then I work my way down into the document. You can change the formatting. Sometimes the formatting on Word gets a little flaky, but there. I went to a certain point in the lab, and this will make more sense as we're going through lab. I was just doing a quick screen capture. Now, let's go actually into the NDG server. If we go back up here, there's generally two ways you can go to the NDG server. One is you can use this direct link, and that's going to take you there. It'll open up another tab. Or if you wanted to, you can open up another tab yourself and then go to the NDG server. Now, I'll do it this way. And then if you look up here, you can see you can go to the NDG server, just netlab.lakelandcc.edu. You will be getting an email from me with your credentials for the NDG lab. So I'm going to use my test user. I'm going to say N-Detiro TS, that's my test user. And your password, I'll explain this in the email, your password is your first initial, last initial, and then your Lakeland ID. So for this particular character is TS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So first initial, last name, and then I log in. And then with standard security, it's going to want you to change your password. If you change your password and you forget, the only way you can reset it is by contacting me. It may say, do you want to reset your password? That doesn't work. But if you need to reset your password, just contact me with an email and I'll reset your password just like here. So here I put the whatever password I want it to be. And I'm now inside the NDG server, in the Netlab server. Now, to do a lab, there's things called reservations. Basically, there's blocks of time and resources that you have to make. And you'll see these in a second, and I'll expand them so everybody has equal opportunity. But basically, I say new reservation for myself, because this is just a student, and you pick the lab that you want to do. If you remember, we are doing Lab 10. So I'll click on Lab 10. And it brings up this little calendar things. And these are called pods. These are just basically reservations that you make to reserve time on the NDG server. Some students have reserved time 2-3 days in advance, and that's fine. We have not hit a point, and we shouldn't hit a point where the NDG server is so overwhelmed that you're not going to get time. But if you feel the need, let's say hypothetically, you always have Tuesday mornings from 10 to 12 open. Yeah, you can make a reservation there. So anyways, I'm going to go to whatever pod. And right now I only have 4 pods available, but it'll grow. And so you would see a bar over here. I'll go to the first open pod. I'll double click on it. And it'll say, what reservations do I want? And it'll give me the time, the start time of the reservation. And it'll give me the end time. I can change this, and I encourage you to change this. I believe the maximum time I set was for 2 hours, but let's see, I'll put it at 12 o'clock, so 1 hour, 45 minutes. I will warn you, if you need to extend your time, you have to do it 10 minutes before you're done. Like I said, most students have no real issues with this. They learn the material real quickly. If you run into an issue with the NDG Netlab server, contact me right away. It's not that difficult to correct. And again, once you get familiar with it, you're in good shape. So I'm going to say make this reservation from 10:04 to noon. I'll submit it. Okay. And now I have this reservation. Now I want to go into the lab. It sounds confusing, but this is the method that the NDG Netlab server does. It gives you a certain number of pods. You have to make a reservation, and then you go into it. So I'm going to enter the lab. Now, depending on what lab you're going to start, this can take a minute. It can take 2-3 minutes. It should not take a very long time, but be a little patient. And lo and behold, there's the virtual environment. If you wanted to see the lab here, this is the particular lab notes that I provided as a Word document. If you want to run it this way, fine, but I strongly encourage you to use the Word document, because in the Word document, it will be very specific of where you stop and what is the screen capture. Going back to topology, and fundamentally, here are the labs. So if I was to, I'm looking at my other screen for convenience here, it says, excuse me, it says launch the Kali virtual machine to access the graphical machine. So where's Kali? There's Kali. And I click on it, and it fires up a Kali virtual machine. If we go back to the lab, I can look up the password, and for this particular machine, the password for this Kali environment is user account root. Password is Tor. It's kind of an old Linux historical kind of thing where they would just reverse the username. You don't have to worry about passwords. You don't have to worry about anything like that once you're inside these virtual machines. You are in your own self-contained environment. Now this is taking a little bit long because it's actually firing up a virtual box. So if I click on it and I say user root, password Tor, give it a second, and boom. We now have the Kali machine. And like I said before, you would work through the lab, and then at a certain point inside the lab where it says stop, do a screen capture. You stop, you do a screen capture. You paste that into the Word document, and you go along about your business. Typical labs can run, depending on the lab and your ability, I would say most labs, if they were done quickly, which I don't encourage, I encourage you to really understand the lab. If you were to just do labs very, very quickly, they might take you a half an hour. If you were to take the labs thoroughly, you're probably looking at an hour to an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and a half. I strongly, strongly encourage you to not worry about the grade, but worry about the content. Don't try to get the stuff done, try to understand the stuff. So, once you are done with the labs, once you've done all the screen captures and things like that, this particular lab's 23 pages long, and we keep rolling along, and whenever we get to that little stop sign right here, we do a screen capture, we paste it there, and that tells me you've done the lab. Now, once you've done that, you save the lab or the Word document, you close that, and then you can basically shut down your reservation. So if I go to reservation and I say end reservation now, say, yeah, I'm done with the reservation. And again, this would be when you are completely done with the lab. I say, okay. And then at this point, we can log off and we can then submit the lab. So let me log off as this user. And let me go back to our Blackboard server. It looks more complicated than what it is. Again, once you get the start of it, you should be fine. But down here is the NDG Lab 10 submission. We click on that. Again, this is going to be different than Blackboard Classic. So it brings it up. We're going to say view assessment. It's 100 points you can possibly earn. And then here, you click on here, and you use the little paper, the attachment. If you want to put a note here, you're more than welcome to. And you basically find the lab that you're working on. You attach it. It may take a couple seconds for it to save it, and that's fine. And then we submit. Submit again. Close this. And there we go. You can see it's one submission. And I basically grade, I try to grade by Sunday, but the summer is a little bit busy. I usually have all my grades done by Monday. I do not grade as individual projects come in. I wait until all the projects come in, all the labs come in, and there's a reason for that. If I was to grade each project by itself, I would be grading every day, constantly. So that's one way. But more importantly, by allowing me to grade all the things at once, I can look for patterns. So say hypothetically, everybody gets the same question wrong with the same wrong answer. I can identify that and I can fix that. So don't expect that once you submit it, you're going to get a response back to me. It's not auto-graded. Now the exams are auto-graded, but the labs are not. I hand grade those labs. And basically, that's about it. If you need more time to understand and you want to talk to me about that, again, we can easily set up a virtual meeting or anything like that. And like I said, most students get used to the NDG server very, very quickly. Thank you.